Welcome back to another review for the Mandalorian episode, chapter 23, titled The Spies. As we come back with me, Terrell, and Najee, as we give you all the latest juicy tidbits of this latest episode as we do talk about everything that probably just blown your mind for the last hour of you watching this. For all you people that's been hating on the Mandalorian all season, there's nothing going on. They not talking about nothing. What is all this building to? This, if you've been watching for the last two seasons, this is the formula. This is how they do it. They build it up and then they resolve everything within the last 2 to 3 episodes as we expand this universe. And as me and Najee has been talking about this for the last couple weeks, a lot of our theories pretty much came true within this. And we see that the Star Wars, everybody with it that's in the Star Wars thing is making everything full circle, and even making those future adaptations, make way more sense than they should be. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the latest episode of The Mandalorian, and we start the episode right off with our girl Elia Kane. And the traitor snake that she is, because we again, the episode is titled Spies. So we already knew that she was a spy within the Republic that was, still had allegiance to Moff Gideon. And then the first thing we see is her talking to one of the droids. And we see a projection of Mr. Gideon himself, Mr. Giancarlo Esposito. What was going through your mind as obviously your theory came true that he was back, he wasn't gone? Obviously, because point. What was going through your mind is that popped up right there with her.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of the story, I think John Carlos has been a very busy person, and I think for him to be available for so many multiple projects, he had to be limited for all of them as well too. So I think from his filming of Godfather Harlem, for him filming Kaleidoscope, and his filming of The Mandalorian, it was just a matter of I'm sure he's a committed person. He's never been a person that signed off of a project in the midst of it and just where did he go,
right.
Or had to been written off. He just tends to be there till the wheels fall off. So him showing up makes sense. And I think this episode very clearly defined to the audience that we are getting ready for the finale because there's just so many different things happening in this episode. And when you start to crescendo down to the finale, you want to have all your big names, big Easter eggs, and all those sorts of different things rallying up for the episode before it. So yeah, him showing up, it was a no-brainer. And I gotta say, his presence in this episode, so much to talk about, but it was good to see him bright and early too. Within the first minute, they was by the way, here he is.
It's cool to have that overall established villain. When you see these projections, Vader and the Emperor kind of talking down to their minions, hey, go handle that XYZ. And he definitely makes his presence known. Every time his name is mentioned to various characters throughout the universe of this thing, they he's not somebody to be messed with. And as we see within that first season of The Mandalorian, what he was doing is he tried to pick up the remnants of the Empire. And make his brand new world because he wants to get people in order. Like I said, obviously we knew Miss King was working with them, and we get a little flashback at the beginning of her little torture scene because you either loyal to Mr. Gideon or you're not, and that's kind of what you get. So we jump right into kind of following right back with him as the episode just jumps right into his location. Which we later found out in the episode where he is, obviously. And he's walking past a bunch of vets. Again, a lot of future hints there as to what's going on there. To again, earlier in the season, episode 2, 3, where we were talking about the doctor whose entire life was around cloning. Now we're right back where we started. And again, just dropping hints, and so many setups for future projects that's coming. But we get introduced to the Shadow Council. These old remnants that don't want to see the old ways die. That was full on supporters of the Empire. And they're talking in secret, and we get a preview of pretty much what everybody's working on, and kind of what the plan is, and they talk about the future of cloning and what that is, and the different remnants of of course Jedi and the stormtroopers and stuff like that, and what they want to do within the Empire to set up, and of course Empire Nazis, all that stuff comes off. What was kind of going through your brain here, like when we get this preview of the Shadow Council and who's on it?
What part are we talking about here?
We're
like
still
the end of the episode?
No, this is the beginning.
Typically in situation, in the beginning, you're like, okay, cool. Who you start to look for who's who. That was the first thing for me, right. is the idea of like who these people are, and obviously to understand what the empires are doing. For lack of better words, within the shadows here was always important. I think you're right, because you keep like referencing that in future projects, but like there's implications in projects that had already happened here.
Right.
So just being able to connect the dots here, and I think in the beginning of the episode, because that's why I wanted to know where you was talking about. In the beginning of the episode, I just kind of just sitting back like, let's see exactly what these meetings really mean, the importance of it, and how does Moff Gideon become the center of this. But which I was really on the edge of my seat about was that would they show Grand Admiral Thrawn already? And the name is dropped left and right, and we know that without a doubt, that's our main villain come Ahsoka's show. So it's right. Just a matter of like, where we're gonna, and obviously we heard the casting at Star Wars Celebration, so I was just like, did they already have this done and he's already has a cameo in this? So I just kind of on edge for all the cameos and try the connectivities and everything. So I wasn't thinking too much, just kind of like, okay, let's see where this leads.
I think a lot of Star Wars fans are obviously happy that a lot of the animated stuff is not just throwaway. It's all canon. And to see those animated characters finally get these real life adaptations, I think it's the payoff that a lot of people wait for, especially Emperor Thrawn, because Thrawn has so many implications down the road that that's a whole season on its own of The Mandalorian.
Yeah, well, on the contrary, I think more fans already know that all of Star Wars is canon. They make it very clear. The video games
now.
Yeah, even still, when Rebels and when Clone Wars was a thing, it was very clear that it was canon. A lot of the novels are considered canon. The video games was considered canon. But to your point, I think what's exciting about the slate of Disney Plus projects is the converting between characters that we've seen in live action become animated and animated to live action, that they can tell these stories from almost different perspectives and different vantage points and different parts of these timelines, and it just all makes sense. Like we all know, as we had many seasons of Thrawn in Rebels,
right,
that what more could we be? What more could we know? What more could we tell? And I think it's still the utmost intrigue, because I think we're still going to get so much more story. And then, I'll save it for a second, then just to think about the imprint of these characters and how it led to things within the Skywalker saga, which, is what I'm most excited about, because I think that's why I fell in love with the animated stuff in the first place. Is you wanted to know between these time jumps, what were happening and what was happening all over the galaxy and whatnot. And I think that seeing it in live action with these big box office productions is exciting, and the castings have been fantastic. And now it's just a matter of time or just getting more and more content that just means something, not just throwaway things to say you can do it. We can get, I know folks talking about fans being excited, at any given time they could just throw us a Star Wars Christmas special, because they've already felt miserably at that, but they could always just throw one of those again, say Grogu Christmas special, whatever, and it would be entertaining. But like, they're making all of this count, and I think that's what's exciting for me, is that every bit of medium within Star Wars all matter. And got the video game coming up, you got all these other series, all these other animated series coming up, second season of and I keep always forgetting the name, but just Jedi
Bad
Stories.
Batch. Oh, Jedi Stories. Okay.
Yeah, Jedi Stories got Bad Batch, another season of that coming. I mean, and it all matters. It all matters.
Yeah, like I said, back when the whole Disney takeover thing, and like I said, all the extended universe stuff, and they pretty much was like, hey, all that stuff before it's scrapped now. It's kind of all coming back full circle. We see that even like the prequel series themselves, like when you have shows like this, and
Those are the Jedi
and Andor and stuff like that, like those movies that I think that people were like that people hated or they didn't really have too much fun. When you give those stories way more context and just a little bit sprinkle of, hey, this is what was going on, this is what led to this, especially with like the Clone Wars. The Clone Wars makes the prequel movies almost 10 times better, just kind of going through that, just because there was story in between that stuff, because there's years in between those stories, obviously. And a lot of those movies, like you said earlier, Tom skip a lot of information that I think make the characters a whole lot better. But like I said, I'm glad that we have this platform, this TV platform, that we can really hit in between the lines of like a lot of different stuff and set stuff up for obviously different shows, different movies and stuff like that we're going to have in the future, and obviously just build upon the Star Wars universe itself. But what a good time to be a Star Wars fan. Jesus Christ. I can't imagine just not knowing, back in the day, like, doing the prequels, like, man, we're going to get stuff like this. We're going to get more build up on more stuff in the future. But obviously, long live the Empire. We got a bunch of old Nazis here that want to bring back the Emperor in some capacity. They want to bring order to the universe because people are sick of the New Republic. There's too many rules.
Yeah,
I'm tired of doing the right thing. There's too many rules.
And I mean, and like, granted, like you pick your sides and all of this, but like,
Right.
here's the thing is that, as they said, there are backers of everybody on every planet. There's folks that's going to back the Empire. There's going to folks that back the New Republic, and there's going to be folks that back the Jedi Order. I mean, there's folks that's going to back anything.
Right.
And I think that was a very it was an interesting statement. I think that makes it sort of humanize what they're doing and not so just bad guys. It's just like, hey, we're going about it our way, which you agree or disagree, and it's like folks go about the other way, and I think I think that's always been the story of Star Wars, is understanding balance here.
Right.
And I think that you can always pick a side. Everybody, one side may not always be more right than the other. So it was just interesting to kind of hear that perspective brought up, to the point that, like, as a fan, you don't easily dismiss what they're trying to put in place and put in order here. But it was interesting because you keep bringing up cloning, and I kept saying, like, man, listen, what is this whole project Necromancer? Mm-hmm. And once we started to learn more and more about that, I was like, I think I know what's going on here. So this episode, just again, filled with so many Easter eggs and so many hints at things that we'll talk about the deeper we get in this episode.
We obviously know Moff Gideon gets the information about the Mandalorians taking over the planet, and it's time we got to shut it down. Once he found out what Mandalorian is involved, because he was kind of betting on these two factions never ever coming together because they hated each other. There was just no way. And obviously, he knows they're gonna come try to take back Mandalore.
Yeah, listen. Let me say this before I forget. So when I can't think of his name right now, but the pilot that had made the conclusion that I'm about to call him Giancarlo, that Moff Gideon had been rescued from his transport, and then he said that, I think by the tracings here is Mandalorian, and I think I just kept saying, which crew of folks did this? Was it the mercenaries? Was it these Mandalorians that we found on Mandalore? Like, I'm suspicious of all the Mandalorians now, because you have to remember, somebody rescued Moff Gideon to get him out, just for us to get the answer to find out that, oh no, it's because oh, he tapped in. He's on Mandalore harvesting their resources, and with that was the means of his own folks that we get introduced to later on in this episode was the one that did. And I love how Moff Gideon pretty much leveraged all the resources and all the galaxy. Says, listen, everybody got a little bit of something. And if I take a little bit of something and add it all together, you get this. And I was like, yep, that's the way to go there.
Yeah, it says, share the wealth. Help me out. Give me some of what you got. And, XYZ. We should all be working together as they were talking about. Because, if they're all in this together, there's no reason why they shouldn't be sharing resources. Mm-hmm. But, this guy's smart. And he's dangerously smart, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And as he says in the episode, the one thing that they don't have is me.
Yeah.
So we get back to the Mandalorians as they come back and discuss the plan. Bo-Katan, they come all together and they bought the scrap. As soon as they get that home planet, we see some tension in the armor comes in. Hey, squash that. Bo-Katan, shoots off our plan that, hey, this is what we need to do. And you go back, the air is breathable on Mandalore. Let's grab a party. Yeah. Everybody jumps in and says, hey, I'll help out. Here comes Sasha Banks. Not her name. But she comes, everybody jumps in to do this because they do realize, because at first I'm confused. I was kind of confused that this even came up. I kind of thought they abandoned the idea to take over Mandalore because they were going to settle on Navarro. I thought
no, not at all. The goal has always been to take back Mandalore, and that's been since the beginning. And now that Bo-Katan has gained the respect and has now given a purpose to gather all of sort of the exile and just the alienated Mandalorians, it's her job to bring them all together. So coming back here was the goal, to have everybody all together. We know they have a savage barbarian mentality, so it was inevitable that they were going to have a fight. But at the end of the day, everybody makes shelter here. This is our temporary home, and this is a place where we can bring the fleets, we can bring everybody together. We're going to talk the plan and say, listen, it is breathable, it's not cursed, we're going to go, but we're going to take a limited amount of folks and we're going to go scout and see what it is. And I think what was cool is just to see everybody from both sides, all sides, shall I say, all volunteer. Right. As we knew, our main Mandalorians was going to always be the one that was going to do so. So the ones, it's just how, storytelling is, the characters that are been introduced in a big way, of course they're going to go. But nonetheless, it's just important to see that, Bo-Katan's old folks are there, the new folks that she's been accepted to there. Din is basically behind her, telling her listen, you are the leader. I'm with you. And I think that, it's cool that now she has the full support. And she was even surprised that okay, cool. And I think that bit of confidence, and as I've been saying, the idea of restoring her family name, but also having that acceptance and everything, and now having this purpose of bringing everybody together, it's just showing a new side of her that I really appreciate in this. I did not think, because I was never a big Bo-Katan fan in any of the animated, but kind of annoying at that. But God, makes me want to go back to reevaluate my feelings about her, because such a fan, and I'm rooting for her to make this all happen. And granted, just think about it, just on layman's terms here. Mandalorians want to go back to their home planet of Mandalore. Who don't want to get behind that? People going back to a planet that was theirs, that was taken from them, bombed, and so many misconceptions about what happened here, that a conversation amongst all of these folks can get unity back, which is completely dangerous, obviously, for the Empire. But you root for that, because who wants to see somebody lose their home? Oh, America. But so it's a lot of reasons to root for her and them. And just the start of this episode was just really cool. I know we're going to talk about Grogu getting his gun. Right?
Yeah. Bad baby. As we get back right into Grief Karga, as he lets he come through with the Henny and say, hey, you might want to open that for a party of 3.
I actually have that bottle too. What it is? Yes, I do.
Oh my! They go back. He says he has something else for him, and they repurpose the old death rope droid that tried to kill him into a mobile pilot suit for Grogu.
Yeah.
Who gets right into it and just absolutely loves it and is instantly annoying with it. Instantly annoying. Then is not feeling it whatsoever.
Not at all.
It's not really feeling the aesthetic here for his setup, but of course Grogu seems to like it. Of course he goes through and steals a bunch of food and cuts up in the city. But I like that they gave him at least a little bit more something to do since we don't have a saber. He doesn't. I mean, he knows how to use his powers a little bit.
Does he? Because it was a very critical time in this episode. He could have did something.
Look, if he can help a woman cheat a game, he can use his powers. All right. he knows what he's doing because he said he was with Luke for like what, a year, 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Training. Come on, he know how to do something. He know how to jump.
We know he's. Everybody knows he's force sensitive, but like we know he has really developed his abilities in a sense of awareness of when and when not to use them. Even though he's a kid and he can still misuse them to help somebody cheat, but like there definitely should have been a time in this episode where he should have used it, and I was definitely like, what? But yeah, no matter what, like seeing him in his mobile suit, I definitely I first of all, I'll say like, oh, Disney's getting ready to merge this one out. But hey, I'm with it. I'm with it. I think I would purchase it. It's kind of funny to me, but it's funny because of the buttons he have. It reminds me of like those little buttons that they give animals to talk. I don't know if you've ever seen it, like, and they can press the buttons and stuff. Yeah, that was Grogu. Like, no, yes. Oh, he's such a Grogu's so bad. He's so bad.
I already see the Black Series Grogu with robot.
Hasbro loading it up right now.
It's all to sell toys, huh? This is what this all about. But yeah, man, like I said, now we give him pretty much another, obviously mobile use, another method to help fight. He's not just a side useless character as he continues to be in the first two seasons. Hasn't really, not saying he doesn't have a purpose, but he's just kind of there. I mean, I still personally don't see his purpose of trying to be a Mandalorian. I don't see how that's gonna work.
I mean, listen, I mean, it's I don't think it's for the viewers to understand or to try to dissect it. I think that's where the fun of Star Wars starts to go away. It's simple as his father, who he's made his decision, he's following his father's steps here, and he wants to do what he does. And I think that with him wanting to pursue the way of the Mandalorian, and he's still force sensitive. There's plenty of force sensitive folks who aren't Jedis, Right. So what's a force sensitive Mandalorian? I mean, so that's just what it is. And I think that it is good that this season did not focus on Grogu because it's called The Mandalorian. Last season was definitely called The Adventures of Grogu. This one has been all about the history and the reclaiming of Mandalore from the beginning of the season to now. And I think that's what I want to see. I think a lot of what I thought this series is going to be is a lot of what this season is the focus on the Mandalorian culture, as they say, the way of the Mandalorian, and what's at stake. But ultimately, at what point of the timelines of the things we had already known and seen does this fit? And they are doing a good job in connecting it all, making the intrigue in every direction you go here. So, so forget Grogu. He's there. He got a mobile suit. He can get in some action when he wants. Other than that, he's there. I think it would be very negligent if they really did away with him. He's like, we built all of that for the first two seasons with Grogu, then all of a sudden he's just no longer around. Like, that doesn't make sense. Plus, Grogu sells merch. Right. Period.
I mean, the first and foremost, the show is The Mandalorian, but I do think that, for me personally, like Grogu was going to be the introduction to see more Jedi being rebuilt within this time period, but that is acclimated to a different show now. that kind of point, that purpose is kind of broke, because like I said, when they introduced Luke, we see that Luke is out and about. He's doing his thing. His purpose is just to to rebuild the order we see kind of like, you know, what happens with that like 30 years later. But like I said, I was hoping with Grogu we would see more of the Jedi kind of resurface at this time period now. But that's not the case. Anyway,
Yeah.
We definitely get in on the plan. You know, the armorer says for whatever reason she wants to go on this mission to do recon with the rest of the crew. They fly out with the fleet to Mandalore. The plan is to, you know, have a small party go down. We keep everybody else, you know, up in the sky until, you know, we give the all clear because they have to go down, find the Great Forge. Once they find the Forge, that is where they're going to be setting up home base because, as Bo-Katan explains, there are other creatures and everything that have evolved and taken place in places that they shouldn't be. So now they have to kind of retake the planet. In the means that they come down, they come around, they find a scouting party of Mandalores. Now this is another thing we were just talking about, where at this point there's just different, like Jedi, there are different sects of Mandalorian. Like you don't have to fully commit to the mask on. You know, there's different. Obviously, there's different creeds and stuff like that.
I think a better analogy is like Game of Thrones. There's definitely different houses, and everybody is going about. And obviously, the other biggest thing is while we know that Bo-Katan is the Night Owl, and then we obviously know she's part of the mercenary, but she's also part of the other crew as well. Now, I think while there is a creed, I think everybody had to be adaptive to everything that was kind of going on. And I think that is the armorer's sort of mission of getting everybody back on the same page. So like, I don't feel, you know, when you see folks, that's the first thing they say is, okay, what their armor look like, what their crest look like, you know, mask on, mask off. And when they take it off, it's kind of like, okay, cool. It's good to see diversity. Number one, I'll take that. Older folks, I'll take that as well too. And then to hear their story, they clearly have had it rough. Them recognizing Bo-Katan is amazing. And that respect that she has, I think, across the board is just, it pays more dividends than the idea of saying like, oh, they don't have a mask. What's wrong with them? But I think it does normalize a lot of what we knew about the Mandalorian in terms of folks taking their mask off. It seems to be more common than none. Instead of like, whoa, what are you doing? Yeah, you don't take the mask off. I think a lot of other folks is kind of like, they lost the way. You know, and I think that's where the armor by lead of Bo-Katan is looking to get folks to be back in the way. And again, don't forget, this was a whole group of folks who never came out to their home planet because they thought the air was unbreathable because they thought it was cursed.
Right.
Which is silly enough when you think about like, why don't you just check? You know, this one little check and you can solve a lot of issues here. But I think like, you know, it's just cool. It was just really cool to kind of hear the story, the history, the Night of 1,000 Tears, what happened with that, and just you know, Bo-Katan being transparent with everybody, letting them know about how she lost the dartsaber, why she did it, you know, and what she expected to happen, and for them, everybody then re-established their respect with her because they see that you know, she tried. She did not leave them. She tried. Now is more and more, I think, a duty of hers to try to make sure she makes this all right.
Yeah, that, you know, that was definitely a hard hitting part of the story where that was a big vital part of information that a lot of people were not aware of. That, you know, they're under this thing that, you know, they were holding out. They didn't give nothing. You know, they wasn't, people were dying because they was not, you know, giving up. And Bo-Katan pretty much, you know, the reason Moff Gideon in the first place had the saber was because she was throwing in the towel. She was trying to save her people. And that, I think that changed a lot of people's perspectives at the table, especially then as he, you know, comes and swears his fealty to the queen herself, and he explains like, you know, his Mandalorians, you know, they don't want anything. They don't have any material like that they hold on to, any title. They just believe, you know, they have this honor that they hold on to. That's the highest thing that they believe in. And of course, he's like, hey, I'm with you. So It sucks not to see him have that dark saber anymore, you know, because I really like the aesthetic.
It's a fanboy moment of yours, sir. That's all it is. I get the graphics and everything, but it was never meant to be hit. And I think that's a part of the continuity that it had to be this way. No matter how cool it is, no matter if this is our main character, he cannot possess it. There are other folks that need to possess this, and the storytelling of this is what is going to be interesting. But it's always going to be the battle between Bo-Katan and Moff Gideon. So of course he had to do it this way. Yeah, and she looks way cooler with it, by the way.
Oh yeah, it was just too many episodes of him not being able to handle it. I'm like, all right, come on, man. We in season 3. What are we doing? You still can't wield this thing?
Not his the wield. So listen, I know you like Finn with the lightsaber, but like, listen, it wasn't his the wield, you know.
people wanted that to happen to an existence.
They did rip us off with that. That's the true rip off.
Good marketing, though. Good marketing.
Oh yeah, except for China, they weren't having that.
They didn't package his toy with no lightsaber, so
or have him on the graphic with it either. They said nah.
But yeah, we get out and, you know, they go back and explore. They, you know, the people they come across, they tell them, hey, we know where the forge is, let's go. Which was automatically fishing them in my okay. Like, all right, so we know where everything is in the process of this. I think right before they even go, they have an attack, and I believe the armorer takes back 2 of the crew members to the ship. Could have been anybody that did that. kind of needed her for the forge. I just thought that was
yes and no. I mean, again, I think that at the end of the day, she is like the commanding officer from the rear. So what like I said last episode, seeing her on the field was completely dope, but I don't expect her to be on the field. And everybody has their orders. And as Bo-Katan made it very clear that like a few of us are going to go do this mission. Everybody has what they need to do. So seeing the armor go back to the fleet command and letting them know like, hey, we got some folks who are, you know, they need some care. The folks up in the sky, they're waiting for it. And I think that's important to know that, remember, they're up there still. So it's about to go down. This fight is long over here.
Yeah, it's wild. I shout out, what was that, like a worm in the middle of like the it's not a desert, but like this blood that they just got rid of just tight.
Yeah, it was first of all, it was just a pile of rubble and destruction because and I can't think of the name, but it's another, like, you know how we saw the Mythosaurs? This is just another one of these sort of mythological creatures.
Okay.
So
yeah. So we get down on the ground and we feast our eyes on the Great Forge itself. Hasn't been lit in God knows how long. Good. Could have used a history lesson from the armor, at this time, because she usually likes to drop little tidbits of information about the Mandalorian lore, just in the middle of conversation. But they quickly think that they hear jetpacks.
And by the way, too, I just want to say, like, that dinosaur thing that they looked at, it looked really like a dinosaur. Like that, I was very intrigued by, like, I felt like I've seen this dinosaur before. Like, it did not look Star Wars-ish. It looked like a real dinosaur. I was just kind of like, that's interesting there. But I thought they were going to actually fight the Mythosaurus, but instead it got this other dinosaur.
That would have been wild.
I mean, listen, if you play Final Fantasy, that's what it is. You see this big creature that you're like, oh yeah, I'll fight that when I'm level 80, right. And you think they come back. It's like, all right, well, it's clobbering time. What they going to do? But it wasn't that. So just because you heard it here first, I have a feeling we'll be seeing that Mythosaurus very, very soon here. That's my take.
Within season, these last 2 episodes, this last episode.
I think so. I think it has to come full circle. We seen it in the beginning of the season. Why not see it at the end?
See, get a 2-hour special, hopefully. But
I mean, but it doesn't have to be a big thing. 10 minutes or the finale could be an hour, 30 minutes. Doesn't matter. But I have to think that this all started because Bo-Katan seeing this Mythosaurus was something that no one had ever seen. It was a myth. It was a legend. And because she said that, that instilled the trust behind the armorer to say, you will be the one to bring back all of the stray Mandalorians here. And I think if you really want to get people to buy in, I think we do have to have that moment where everybody gets to see it. And I think that really restarts the culture for them. That's just my thoughts, you know, see it, fight it, or something, you know.
But yeah, we so then we found out we get these stormtroopers with jetpacks. Again, more toys being sold here. Not only stormtroopers with jetpacks, but stormtroopers with Vaskar armor on. And as we know, Vaskar armor is not 100% bulletproof, laser proof. Because we get a whole John Wick fight scene here where everybody's getting neck shot and arm shot.
Well, that's the thing, right? But they're not just normal stormtroopers. Like, although they kind of look like the ones from like the First Order, it is the upgrade here. So it does make these scenes make more sense here. And obviously now we're playing at an even baseline here. Right. And again, you have to have this moment because you say, well, who rescued Moff Gideon's? Oh, it's these boys that's operating like Mandalorians, jetpack armor, the weaponry. So it's I thought they did this. I thought they did this really, really damn good.
Yeah, this entire scene right here was I think was choreographed well, especially with a large number of people in the scene and just so much going on. I think everybody had their moment here. Everybody pulled out. You know, this was a whole Western in the cave. Everybody was getting a shot in. Everybody had like their moment with different weapons, knives, stuff like that. They took out a couple of Mandalorians, unfortunately, because people were getting tossed over into the cave, into the bottomless pit of that cave or whatever was going on. Mm-hmm. But as we get through this amazing shootout, we see the troopers running away. They said they're getting away, which was clearly a trap. Look, but when I saw the aesthetic of the room change to whatever that was to Empire, I'm like, oh, come on, y'all see this? Y'all don't see the doorway. But I just like clearly again they wound up getting into this trap here. And here comes Mr. Moff Gideon himself unmasked. It was me the whole time. Yeah, we knew.
Yeah,
it was you.
Yeah, I need that toy. I'm not even playing. The Moff Gideon brought it in for armor from head to toe with the mask.
Armor.
Yeah, I need Hot Toys to go ahead and drop that because I'm copping. I'm copping. Pre-order shorty.
Non-easy payments at $299.99.
Nah.
But yeah, pretty much like an evil villain comes in while he has the good guys trapped and explains his evil plan. And what he was able to do. Hey, I've been mining Mandalore the whole time. Look, I got this. We got the armor now. Mm-hmm. You're not getting it back. So what you gonna do? I got you. There's no way out. So he goes in. He does his monologue thing, which if you see any good guy, bad guy thing, you know that's not the best thing to do. As they of course get their escape plan, and she takes the dark state but cuts a hole out, and we get our scene here. The exchange between Bo-Katan, and then they strip down Din because he gets cut because he has to. And they take everything from him. I thought they would kill him. I'm like, oh, okay, this is a way to hand over the reins.
Terrell, what show do you be watching? Like, how could they kill the main character before the finale? That wouldn't even make sense at all. Like, understanding that, like, yeah, they have to de-weapon him. They have to unweapon him, whatever. They have to remove his weapons from him. And they say to bring him in the conference room or interrogation room, what it is. Listen, this right here is an eye for an eye. Let's not forget that my man Moff Gideon was also taken into a interrogation room, a torture room, whatever you want to call it, and so on. So this is an eye for an eye. Plus, there is something that he may need. And obviously, with this whole cloning thing happening, I'm sure he's probably thinking about Grogu to some extent again. There's something happening here. So it makes sense to have him and utilize him and leverage him to some extent. What I did not understand is Grogu. Pops is in trouble. Do something.
He all the way in the back.
No, he's not. He is right at the gate. He is right. I was looking. He was right to the right, and I'm just like, sir, you see this? Do something. You have this protective nature over him before. This is your opportunity to do it again. Use your force to protect Pops here. Otherwise, oops. And it's odd because when they had to leave, Grogu definitely got out of there. He didn't even show a sign of like, Oh man, but they got my pops. He's just like, nah, all right, we out. See, give a kid a new toy and they forget about you that quick. That's all that is.
Terrible. Yeah, so they capture our lead here. But again, like the reason I thought they were going to kill him, it wouldn't be surprising me because, like I said, it's not like this is the Djarin show. This is the Mandalorian. So, this could fall to Bo-Katan at this point. This entire season, I'm thinking they were going to hand it over to her anyway. But like you said, it's not the last episode, so they're not gonna do that. People will be pissed. That'd be the conversation the entire day.
You, sir, only you, because only you would think that.
So yeah, they capture him, and then everybody gets away. And man, I could not find his name to save my life.
Who?
The main big Mandalorian that has the minigun fight. Yeah, Paz. Paz Vizsla. Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he takes out like 20, 30 troopers at this point, gun overheating. I'm thinking I'm like, he gonna change the clip on this at some point. It's like,
it's an energy gun, sir. Enough Apex today.
It's a battery. They changed the battery on this.
It's the L Star, bro. That's what it is. Listen, it's a very fitting ending for a character who has come around in this season. However, much like anything in Star Wars, no one's ever dead until they're really dead. And like, while it appears he could be dead, I don't think he necessarily has to be dead. We'll see what happens, but it's a very heroic ending. I have one issue though. He had no reason to be a hero. He could have backed up. This is the same person who made it very clear that he had to be there for his kids.
Right. I was thinking that.
He definitely said, fuck those kids. I'm laying it out on the line. And that, honestly, again, it's a heroic thing, all jokes aside, but I hate heroic things because you always should think about what's at stake if you're gone. You could have backed up and rolled out and regrouped and lived to fight another day, but he had to have his moment and he threw down. But again,
I think he's going to fit through the hole. To be honest, I think it's going to fit through that hole.
I definitely thought that too. But by the way, here, because you're like completely forgetting about what's the most important thing here, the Praetorian Guard.
Oh yeah,
we have not seen them since The Last Jedi, which obviously, folks, if you don't know, it's the red stormtrooper looking joints. Mm-hmm. And this was completely dope. This was a dope Easter egg because now we understand exactly how they were formed, where they came from. Although Kylo Ren came to and washed them all when they were and washed Snoke at the same time. But just to see them in action, because I thought they built them up so much in the promotional material for The Last Jedi just to get washed. Right. And as much as we are excited about Jedis and whatnot, I think the different iterations of stormtroopers is always intriguing. And I thought this was one where it's just like, huh. The Praetorian Guards, the one that was protecting Supreme Leader Snoke and washed.
The Emperor had some too. That were always next to him in the movie, especially in Return of the Jedi, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, maybe.
No, absolutely not. No, they were a one and done in The Last Jedi. It had not been seen anywhere else. So this was really, really cool. So now that I've established when we seen them, now you can establish a connection here between this and The Last Jedi. Which when you talk about Snoke and you talk about how Snoke was created, then you start to scratch your head a little bit because if you remember on The Last Jedi, the big reveal there was the return of Emperor Palpatine. Well, how did he come back? Oh, he was cloned. You brought up cloning. Is it safe to say that this whole effort in Project Necromancer is the cloning process to not only in the cloning of folks like Snoke, but was this the effort in terms of what brought Palpatine back? And this was the beginning efforts of it. And then, with Commandant Hawks, who's a name that you may have heard before. And it's not the same one. I had to look that up because I was like, this can't be the same one. I think this is the son or the whatever, but relations to the other. There was just a lot of little Easter eggs about what all this meant. And again, it draws in sort of I didn't know I needed to know this information type of thing to things that you need to know.
Right.
How, what was the difference about them? And obviously different armor. And it makes sense that it will be next to somebody like Snoke having the Beskar armor and where they came from, Moff Gideon, which then tells you, well, this whole Imperial Shadow Council all coming together. this was sort of the goals here, and everybody playing a part in the cloning and the harvesting of the resources, shuffling folks in different areas. And then obviously we see what happens with Palpatine when he comes back for the Last Jedi.
Maybe I misheard this, but I feel like I've heard Obi-Wan say this. I feel like I've heard other characters say this. But it was said that you cannot clone Jedi. That was the whole thing. Like you cannot clone Jedi. And then you were talking about Snoke. Maybe Snoke is a imperfect clone of Palpatine. Is he like a completely different character on his own? Because he's like deformed and stuff like that.
I say give it an episode.
Okay.
I say give it an episode. I think again, I mean, it's something you don't think about until you think about it, you know.
I was thinking about that earlier. Like I said, they've been talking about the cloning thing for long, and like I said, the whole thing was decommissioned, and of course, we got the Shadow Council that's like, nah, we still doing it. So you know, as Gideon says, hey, you guys got your thing. How you gonna do your army? I'm working on something else. This like I got the armor soldiers. I need this. I got that. I can get these. So, some theories. You know, of course, they end the episode with the Paz dying. You know, we don't know until we actually get that on screen to confirm. But it gets captured and they end the episode there. A lot of theories of people are saying that they think the armor set that up. And remember, the episode is titled Spies. There was spies on different fronts set up. Some people are saying that they think that the armorer was working for Moff Gideon, that she knew that was a trap on Mandalore, and that's why she backed off and went back to the ship. And if you kind of like think about some of her actions up to that point, like leading up to the episode, her telling Bo-Katan, "Hey, grab everybody. We're gonna put them all in one place. Grab them, bring them here, so that we can eliminate the Mandalorian problem." Why was a certain interest to do that if the way was to keep the Mandalorian, religion pure this whole time? Hey, if you're not doing it like this, then why all of a sudden interest to combine these numbers and everything like that? She was on board to go to the planet. Hey, cool. And then all of a sudden, hey, I'm backing out. I'm taking these two back. Again, anybody could have went and did that.
I just don't even care that much to try to expose the armor as being a bad person. Okay. I think the armor comes off as a wise leader of the crew, and she just had her duties. That's all it is. And if it is somehow that she's playing both sides, then let it happen. But I would never just theorize that, because I don't think there's really hardcore evidence, concrete evidence, right, without folks just really reaching here. And I think Moff Gideon would have easily just said, but I mean, he definitely said, hey, thank you, Bo-Katan, for bringing everybody together. But that's the point. How you retake your planet without bringing everybody together to do so. It's just how it needs to be. And I don't know, but we'll see. We got an episode to go.
One last episode, folks. Like Nadia said, man, we got so many sprinkles of Easter eggs in this episode, and so much to come. We got Thrawn, we got the Shadow Council, we got the cloning, we got obviously the future of Mandalore and everything that's going to happen here. So many things to set up already. Canon Star Wars stories that this is going to jump its way into, and like I said, Ahsoka is about to put the icing on the cake here with after those last episodes of Mandalorian. So whatever happens, obviously after this last episode, is going to obviously affect those future shows going forward. Because like you said, obviously they're not going to take out Moff Gideon in this last episode. I can tell you that. But did you have any last theories or anything like that going into the next episode?
Nah, man, that's it, man. Let's get to next week. We'll cover the finale, and then that's what it is.
I'm excited. This is the time to be alive to be a Star Wars fan, I tell you.
Mm-hmm.
But on that note, guys, Terrell and Najee here, episode 23, The Spies. We will see you again next week. Drop us a comment. Let us know what you thought about tonight's episode. And can't wait for next week. See you. Big gold bell.